There's a lot going on right now in the Middle East. It's very important. If you have a Bible, you want to turn it to Isaiah, because simultaneously there's two 3,000-year-old prophecies developing right before our very eyes. Isaiah 17:1 talks about the destruction of Damascus, Syria. And I will read it. The scripture says that the burden of Damascus. Behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city, and it shall be a ruinous heap. The cities, think about this a minute. The burden of Damascus. Behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city, and it shall be a ruinous heap. As we speak, there was a deadline set by the United Nations and the Arab League, whose representative who represented them, a guy named Kofi Annan, who's the former Secretary General of the United Nations. Now, President Assad agreed to an April 10th deadline to remove all of his troops out of all of the residential areas in the towns, pull all the way back in, and allow for a 48-hour cooling off period to see if maybe the citizens of Syria could find common ground with Assad. But we can't even get there, because Assad instead has laid the hammer down. Now, I realized yesterday was April 5th. But, I mean, if you're getting ready to pull back, do you go out and just slaughter them? I mean, have the biggest killing day of the entire one-year uprising? Literally, 2,300 people, refugees, had to flee into Turkey. About 1,000 into Jordan. Others by the hundreds going into Lebanon. That's just yesterday. That's just yesterday. And the city, the tanks, the murder, the mayhem, the massacring, the meanness, the misguided message of Assad. While that's going on, that's why I'm telling you right now, Damascus, the city of Damascus, is frozen in fear, folks. As a matter of fact, you can read more about the details of this prophecy. Isaiah just said it this way: the burden of Damascus, behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city, it shall be a ruinous heap. But in Jeremiah chapter 49, verses 23 through 27, Jeremiah breaks it down exactly what's going to happen in Damascus. The murdering in the streets, the young men dead, lying in the streets, the men of war being cut off, the whole city becoming wax feeble in fear, just like a woman just about ready to give birth in travail, all of which is happening as we speak. But it's not the only prophecy taking place right now. Flip the page to Isaiah 19, verses 1 through 4, and you see the ancient 3,000-year-old prophecy of the rise of a new king in Egypt. Everything in these 4 verses have happened except 2. The doing away of the council and the choosing of a new king. Well, because the fourth horseman of the apocalypse was caught on tape riding through the streets of Egypt, riding on a swift cloud, and he actually went right up. You could see it on videotapes. I did a video on it. Many others have. I've even talked to the cameraman, independent filmmaker, who was down there filming during the riots when it happened. It was caught live. He was broadcasting it live on his camera to both Channel 4 London and MSNBC of New York City, United States of America. Now, the idols were taken out of King Tut's museum. We know that happened. All these things have taken place, and now all they're waiting for is the council to step away or be destroyed or phase out, whatever, and a new king. And the Bible calls this new king is going to be a cruel lord, a fierce king. Well, I reported to you yesterday that the Muslim Brotherhood has chosen their man, Qaid al-Shader, or as I like to call him, Slim Shady, Shady Shader. Well, anyway, because they said they weren't going to run anybody for president. They were just going to be very content in having 48% of the parliament seats. But now, at the last moment, they've thrown his hat in the ring, and guess what happened today? Breaking news out of Egypt. Egypt's election commission confirmed that the mother of the popular Islamist presidential hopeful was an American citizen. effectively disqualifying him from the race and likely boosting the chances of the Muslim Brotherhood's candidate. What? They're going to get it. This guy's going to get it. Slim Shady. That's right. El Shater is going to get it. Now watch. The ruling is likely to draw an uproar from the supporters of Hazim Abdul Ismail. He's a 50-year-old lawyer turned preacher who has recent months vaulted to become one of the strongest contenders for the president, with widespreading backing from the ultra-conservative Muslims known as the Salafis. Now, the announcement is particularly embarrassing for Abdul Ismail, who used anti-U.S. rhetoric in his campaign speeches and rejected dependency on America. Notice what happened to him. He won't get to be. Who's really running this election in Egypt? Who's really knocking out? Who got rid of Kabo in Ivory Coast? Who really caused the uprising against Ben Ali of Tunisia? Who was behind the removal of Hosni Mubarak of Egypt, who kept peace with Israel since 1979 after taking over? Who is behind the removal of Muammar Gaddafi of Libya and Ali al-Balala Saleh of Yemen? Who's behind the removal soon of Assad of Syria? And who's behind putting Kait al-Shader into the presidency? Because they weren't even going to run anybody. Now they're running somebody. And now the guy who was going to win has been disqualified. All because that guy's against America. And who did Hillary Clinton say she's for? She's supporting al-Shader. And so is the Obama administration. And so is John McCain. So is Lindsey Graham. But it's the Muslim Brotherhood. Their support. So they're turning away from a guy who is among the people, and they're helping select a guy. And who's going to monitor this election? Jimmy Carter again? Because he monitored the last one that allowed 48% of the Muslim Brotherhood to have seats in the parliament. I'm just telling you what's going on. The Bible said in Daniel that there would be an antichrist spirit flow through the land. You have to ask yourself, who is that antichrist spirit? Where is it coming from? Just exactly what is this? Here's what it says. Bible prophecy. I don't know. I'm just saying what's happening. Daniel chapter 11 verse 41. He shall enter also into the glorious land. Who's he? The Antichrist precursor or paving the way for the rise of the Antichrist. Because he shall enter also into the glorious land. Many countries shall be overthrown. I just named them. But these shall escape out of his hand, even Edom and Moab and the chief of the children of Ammon. That's Jordan. And you watch, Jordan will not fall. He shall stretch forth, in other words, and actually